Hey Denchbags, what's going on? It's Landon Remixes here, and welcome to my review of the debut album from Spor, aka Jon Gooch, aka Feed Me, who's already released 2 or 3 albums by now, but this is his debut album under his drum and bass alias, Spor. So, I was really excited to hear this record. He dropped it a little bit early, and I'm still waiting for CD orders to become a thing. I just tweeted him about it, so hopefully he'll make CDs a thing because I really want to get one, and I am ready to do this review even though it's been like 3 weeks or something since the album came out. I'm really late on this, but I haven't had time to record any album reviews, so I'm very, very sorry. But I'm going to get album reviews out as much as I can. I've got a lot more coming in the near future. Anyway, so the album kicks out with this freaking awesome intro called Your Murmuring Chasms, and I really enjoyed this intro. It's got very cool sounds. He uses some race car or just car kind of taking off samples, and I really enjoyed those throughout this. Definitely one of my favorite tracks on the album. I usually don't like to say that about things with albums, that the intro is one of my favorites, but it actually is, and it's kind of sad because once again, as with themes of the rest of the year, with I think Above and Beyond and Lone Moon, the second track does not live up to the hype of the intro, and that is especially true on this one, where I would have preferred something much harder. Instead we got this song called Arms House, and I just wasn't super impressed with it. It's definitely not a bad track, and none of this album is really bad, but for some reason I'm just not really enjoying songs like this as much. And I probably mentioned this before with Technomatic's album. It's hard for me to get into drum and bass albums because it's basically the same tempo for all the songs and the sounds kind of sound the same, so it's very, very difficult to make a standalone drum and bass album other than following up with something like Pendulum did with their last album, Immersion, which I actually thought was better than the rest of their records. They used more different styles and sounds than just drum and bass on their first 2 records, which I definitely enjoyed. Speaking of Pendulum, there's a track with Hadouken on here, and that one's called Empire, and it's definitely a hard rock track. I really enjoyed seeing this on the record after Pendulum took their hiatus, but definitely resembles Hadouken as a rock band, and I really enjoyed this song, but like I said, it's very difficult to get into a lot of this album because it's generic drum and bass music, and I hate calling Spor generic because Feed Me, Jon Gooch, is definitely anything but a generic producer. And speaking of Feed Me, I'm going to get into my favorite track right now. It's called Like Clockwork. It kind of has this tossing sound. I'm not really sure how to explain it. It's like... And a lot of other people are saying that too. Definitely can hear the Feed Me sound, and this is probably why it's my favorite track on the record. It's got a little more of an electro style, even though it's sped up to somewhat of a drum and bass tempo, or more closely dubstep, but definitely able to tie in this. And I think if Spor returned with a second album with sounds all like combinations of Feed Me and Spor together, or maybe a new alias of them together, or just straight up Feed Me album with sounds like this, I think it could definitely be an amazing record, and he definitely shows off some unique productions, which is what I'm hearing a lot on this album. But at certain points I wasn't hearing certain things that I wanted to hear, but regardless, I definitely would want more music. I think I mentioned track 2 not living up to the hype. I think track 3, which is Always Right Never Left, would have fit much better into this spot. There's about 4 tracks that I was just kind of bored with, and those were Blue Room, Strange Heart, As I Need You, and Full Color, and these tracks all seem kind of generic. I was really looking forward to hearing some awesome new music with Tasha Baxter after her awesome collabs with Feed Me, like Ebb and Flow, which was one of my favorite tracks off the last Feed Me record, Calamari Tuesday, which I think I mentioned in some other review. But these 4 tracks just seem so generic to me and drum and bassy. That's just kind of the boring section of the album to me, which is why I can't give it an awesome rating. If more tracks would have been like Clockwork and the intro, and I'll get to the last track, which is also one of my favorites. It's called The Hole Where Your House Was. That one definitely super unique, and I feel like this maybe would have even made a better kickoff track than a closer, but I definitely liked where it was placed in the end, and he kind of starts off the album on a hard note and ends on a hard note, and I really enjoyed seeing this track on the record rather than something super boring or generic. And like I said, there's just a lot of tracks on this record where I wouldn't say he's a bad producer, I wouldn't say that at all. Jon Gooch is an amazing producer, to say the least. He's got lots of different styles in his sleeves, but I just like hearing more of a unique kind of thing, and there's definitely lots of unique tracks on this record. There's definitely lots of cool tracks, but as for appeal to me as a listener, I don't really think that most of these tracks manage to live up. So, that's basically the review. I think the best rating I could give this album is a solid 7. So, anyway, what'd you guys think of the album? Make sure to check it out if you haven't yet. It took me a while, a couple class periods at school. I had to get through this record, but make sure to check it out. It's definitely worth at least one listen, even if you don't manage to like it. It won't be a waste of time at all. You can hear some of Gooch's awesome productions, and especially if you're going to listen to one song, listen to Like Clockwork, because that's going to appeal to more electro and dubstep fans, which is more of like what the mainstream appeals to rather than drum and bass. And yeah, so anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this review. Spor, Caligo. Have a good day.